Protagonist. Matthew, thank you so much for being here today to talk about your book, Barbarians of the Beyond.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Your book, it was blurbed by George R.R. Martin, who is a fantasy great. I noticed that in the press release. That must have been so amazing.
George is a fan of my work because George was a great fan of Jack Vance, a great science fiction grandmaster, and Vance is a major influence on what I do. And in fact, Barbarians of the Beyond is a sort of companion novel to a very famous sequence of books by Jack Vance.
Jack Vance was the inspiration for you to write this book?
Not only the inspiration, but it's actually published by Jack's son, John, who is maintaining his father's oeuvre, shall we say, his life's work, and has also begun to authorize other authors, people like me, to write books set in worlds that Jack Vance created. And that's what Barbarians of the Beyond is.
Because I was thinking the location of Mount Pleasant and where they say they are going and where they are from, it sounded familiar in some way.
Jack had a very successful and iconic series of books called The Demon Princes. And they were not demons and they were not princes, but they were 5 very powerful, nasty criminals who operated in a lawless region of space called the Beyond. And some years before my story, 20 years before, they showed up at a little town called Mount Pleasant on a planet called Providence. And they landed ships full of men with guns, and they simply rounded up everybody, carried them off to slave markets deep in the Beyond, and left the town empty. Now, my book starts 20 years after that, when the daughter of a couple who were taken as slaves manages to get back. She escapes from slavery herself and gets back to Mount Pleasant so that she can find a treasure that her parents hid there. And it should provide enough money that she can buy them out of bondage. So that's the beginning of the story.
Why did you choose to have a female protagonist for your story?
One, I wanted to write a female protagonist. And second, Jack Vance almost never did. So I didn't want people to say, oh, he's just copying Vance, you know, with a typical Vance hero, which is usually a young man setting out in the world. And it's one of those, what the Germans call Bildungsroman, a novel about becoming mature. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have a definite signature that said, yes, I am playing in Jack's sandbox, but I'm not playing with his characters.
Do you have intentions of writing another book in this sort of setting?
Would not mind at all doing another sandbox job with another part of the forest, shall we say. Jack had a series of novels, space opera novels, that was set in a cluster of stars called the Alastor cluster. And each one was a different planet in that cluster of stars. And I wouldn't mind visiting one of those. In fact, I think he made notes for a 4th or 5th or 6th book and never actually wrote it. So that's the kind of thing I'd like to do.
So would you recommend reading Vance's works before reading Barbarians of the Beyond?
Certainly would help because I laid in little Easter eggs for people to discover in my book, which are references to things that happened in the Demon Princes novels. So that's really just to make Vance fans happy because they get to see things that they remember.
What do you want readers to take away from your book? What is the message of it?
I want them to be entertained. Basically, it's an entertainment. If there's a message to it, it's that you don't give up and you push forward and you deal with whatever comes along and you keep your eye on the prize. And then after you get the prize, and that does happen in the book, then you find something new to turn your life into.
What do you think your book brings to the genre? Because the sci-fi genre, it's huge. It's a massive genre. What do you think your book brings?
My book brings a very old-fashioned taste of space opera. I have to admit, and this gets me into trouble sometimes, but I haven't read science fiction since the mid 80s, except for anything that Jack Vance wrote or Gene Wolfe I've read a lot of. So my take on science fiction is very old-fashioned.
Thank you so much again for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a great pleasure.